Abhay Singh Chautala has been elected as the Indian Olympic Association president unopposed, despite the fact that the actual elections were to be held on the 5th of December. But ever since fierce rival Raja Randhir Singh withdrew from the contest, it became an unopposed run for Chautala to the top boss's post. Now, many are calling this complete mockery of the election process. But what is really even more interesting is that Lalit Bhanot, who spent 11 months in jail last year in connection with the Commonwealth Games corruption case, has also been elected as the the Secretary General of the Indian Olympic Association. Well, to give us some perspective on what all this means, joining us in the studio is S. Kannan, editor Mail Today. Mr. Kannan, how do you see these developments? Were these elections conducted as per the laws of the land? How was the International Olympic Committee looking at it?
I think elections per se haven't been really held. Elections were to be held on December 5th. What has happened is, in this process of filing your nominations and withdrawals, you've been left with a set of office bearer where there is nobody to oppose them, no contestants against them. Well, as you mentioned, looking at Lalit Bhanot's elevation to Secretary General, we are looking at it as a fair election where, because there's no law of the land which says that once you've been indicted on corruption charges in any scam regarding to Commonwealth Games, that you cannot contest. And the issue here is IOC, the International Olympic Committee, talking about ethics code, where they think that someone like Bhanot or Suresh Kalamari should not be part of the association because there have been corruption charges against them. But I think as far as Abhay Chautala goes, he was supposed to take on Randhir Singh, the current Secretary General, who was aiming to become the president. But it's very clear that Abhay Chautala had the numbers in his favor and Randhir Singh's backed off. While the IOA elections are over now, the bigger battle lies ahead in Lausanne, Switzerland, where the IOC is going to hold its two-day meeting, and they've threatened that since these elections or this nomination has not been held according to their laws and the constitution of the IOA, and the Indian Sports Code has been followed, which is basically a restriction on the age limit of up to 70 and on the number of terms an office bearer can have. They don't go by these elections, and I think there is huge trouble ahead.
Right.
Even though there's no international assignment coming up till 2014 like Commonwealth Games or the Asian Games, if India is going to be disaffiliated, it means you cannot compete as India. And if they take a lenient view, you can only go there and compete under the IOC flag, which is what Kuwait had to do for a couple of years.
All right. In fact, let me also go across my colleague Shumon Ray, who joins us for more in the story. Shumon, the IOC has threatened, in fact, on Wednesday, that the IOA will be suspended. They were not comfortable with the amount of interference of the Indian government in the elections. What's really likely to happen from here on? What are the implications of the latest developments?
Well, the latest development is such that the 4 people have been elected unopposed. The rest of the candidates will be, there will be an election. So on 4th and 5th of December, there will be an executive meeting at Lausanne of IOC, where they will decide whether a ban could be imposed on India or not, on the IOA or not. So clearly, it has to be seen whether what Randhir Singh does from here on, whether he takes up the issue with the IOC and press for a ban, because he, in his capacity in the past, has done all the damage for the IOA. He, as General Secretary, was acting on behalf of IOC in the last 6 months that we have seen. So from here on, the role of Randhir Singh is very important, and also how Abhay Singh Chautala and his representative in Lausanne acts, because they are trying to point out a thing that the final decision was court's decision and it was not a government decision. So there is no interference with the IOC charter. It's a court decision and a rule of the land which prevails over any other charter.
All right, let me also go across to Rahul Mehra now, who joins us on the phone line. He's a lawyer with the Supreme Court. Rahul, do you think Randhir Singh has a case if he challenges this election? Also, what are the implications for the ongoing dispute between the IOC and the IOA, saying that the sports code of the IOC was not followed in these particular elections?
See, first of all, it's not about Randhir Singh challenging it, because Randhir Singh is equally guilty of violating the sports code. He has gone against the spirit of the sports code. It's important that we don't reduce it to a battle between two camps. What is happening is that, it's shameful that the entire nation has almost become helpless over the last 2.5 years ever since Commonwealth Games have concluded, that we can't even get, and the sports ministry is completely almost impotent to deal against such eventuality that you can't get Kalmadi off the position of a president, and they are mocking at the entire nation by having a immoral person who has been held guilty by his own parent body and who has been suspended by the Ethics Commission of the IOC, which is the parent body, saying that he must not participate in elections, and that was the order which was passed on October 4, 2012, and yet they do not consider their parent body, they do not follow the norms there, they do not consider the order which has been passed in my case, where the court has said that the sports code must be followed in letter and spirit, and in case it's not followed, the body must be de-recognized by the Government of India, and they do not follow the Government of India by saying that we do not adhere to the sports code. So it's a body which has completely lost the right. And I sometimes fail to understand what is the sports ministry. Why don't we completely shut down the sports ministry if the sports ministry can't even look into such unethical practices and is sitting on the fence, on the sidelines, just as if they are completely helpless. They must act now in the larger interest, and people of the kinds of Lalit Bhanot must be shown the door for life. They should have nothing to do with the sports in India. Otherwise, we are going to be open to a bigger scam somewhere down the line, and we, the people of India, each one of us, will be accountable, and we should be held guilty that we allowed people like these in office so that they could again commit criminal acts.
All right, Rahul, thank you very much for joining us with your perspective on that. Let me go back to Kannan, who is still with us. Kannan, in your view, is appointing a tainted person like Bhanot back into the IOA, is that reason enough for the IOC now to suspend the IOA? Is that a real threat?
Certainly, they've hinted very, very clearly that, you cannot have someone who's tainted as part of the IOA setup. And this is what Rahul Mehra is talking about, that how can you have Lalit Bhanot there, someone who's been indicted in the Commonwealth Games scam. But that's just one part of the story. The second part of the story is, which Rahul is talking about, sports ministry is doing nothing. Sports ministry cannot interfere in this directly because IOA elections are being held independently. There was a proper 3-member committee formed for it. The panel followed the rules of the land, but we must also remember that the elections were followed according to the National Sports Code and according to the direction given by the Delhi High Court. But on that basis, you cannot disqualify Lalit Bhanot because there is no law in the land which disqualifies, any kind of criminal here. You've got people contesting parliament elections, you've got people contesting state assembly elections who get voted to power. So Lalit Bhanot has a clear case for himself. The only way he can be disqualified if the IOC puts its foot down, that someone who's not clean, his image is not clean, cannot be running the affairs of the Olympics, and that's where he stands to be loser.
All right, Kannan, thank you very much for joining us with your perspective. Also, let me thank Shumon Ray for bringing us all the latest on that story.